Okay. So what's important to know is that as you go through your experience here, whether it's in 3 or 4 months or 2 to 2.5 years, we take great pride in this ritual of Judaism here at Tzion. Every one of our kids is important, and our families, we want you to get as much out of the journey as possible. We're going to go through a number of different pieces tonight, but keep in mind that while we have and we work with individuals that want to make parties wonderful, I'll introduce you to Sean later on. I'll introduce you to Peter a little bit later on tonight. And they're wonderful, and they partner with our community, and they give generous contributions back to the synagogue if you partner with them, which not a lot of vendors do, but they do, so I've invited them to be with us tonight, and you can talk with them afterwards to get a sense of what they do. So what I'd like to do first is hand out some information. If I can get, who wants to help me hand out some of these things? Michelle's going to help. I have this pack of stuff. Please, these sheets, one per person, one per family, bar bar mitzvah candidate. Everyone needs one of these. We should have enough of these, 1 or 2 per family. That's a very important document that you're going to need to have. Why don't we start handing out these out? Just one per student. Okay? Michelle, let me grab one of those. So, before we start, interesting. 613, how about that? Okay, Jewish number. Who is nervous about becoming a bar mitzvah? I'm just curious. Who's nervous? Jack, why are you nervous? What makes you nervous? I know not to be like in front of all these people. Shh. What are you nervous about? Okay, so certainly nerves in terms of saying something. Are we going to remember what we say? The learning that we've taken, what happens if we freeze in front of the Torah? I can share with you, when I was a kid becoming a bar mitzvah, I had nodules on my vocal cords, and I had to be on voice rest for like a month before my bar mitzvah, and I was worried I wasn't going to be able to sing or speak. I was on complete voice rest. I was writing notes to my friends, and that was scary, but remembering, how are we going to remember? What else are we nervous? Who else is nervous? What are you nervous about? 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 Right, you know everything in your head, but similar to what Jack said, that are the words and the melodies going to come out, and your confidence, your smile. We spend a lot of time working with you on those things. So there's nothing to be afraid about. And when you're in the synagogue, whether it's here at the JCC, I like to tell all of our students, everyone in the room loves you. Nobody's out to get you. Nobody's out to hurt you. Nobody's out to embarrass you. And everyone who is here who's going to have a bar mitzvah, my goal is twofold. One, and I speak for the synagogue too when I say that, not just my goal, but I want each of you to have the best experience possible. And every experience is different. Every child is different. Their skill set is different, their hobbies are different, their passions are different, their mitzvah projects are different, their tutoring experiences are different, the restaurants that we lunch at are different. I'll get to that later on. Right? But every single young adult that goes through this experience, I want them to have the best experience possible. Number 2, yeah, that's the danger of handing these things out, because you're not now listening to me. You're just focusing on what's here. So try to focus here just for a second. Number 2, I want your young adult, each of you as a bar mitzvah, to walk out if you're saying, I want my kids someday to have the same experience that I had, which is positive, hopefully, and fun. Right? Judaism, there are times to be serious, but there are times to have fun. And parents, we want you to enjoy. We want you to have fun. We want you to speak. We'll come to that a little bit later on. Right? But at the same time, it's about the community. And that's what makes Tzion special, is that each of our bar mitzvah is part of the community. We want you to come here and celebrate with your friends. We want you to each invite the kids that are in their class to the service and to the lunch afterwards. We want everyone to be a part of our community. That's the foundational step that Tzion was created on, and previous congregations, Harzani or Chadash, that we are a community. Okay? All right. So you have in front of you, I want to thank Stephanie Bonnier and Michelle Mandel for helping create this. We used to hand out a big, huge packet. And what we did is we condensed the packet to highlight some things that you should be aware of. We're not going to go into great detail about all of these things tonight, Some of them will go into great detail much later on, okay? Meaning the months to come, depending on where you fall in the spectrum of this outline. All right, so hopefully everyone in this room has already fulfilled the first two entry fifth grade, and we're currently working on assessments for Hebrew to see where your students are. But everyone should have a date in this room, had that initial meeting, signed that contract, and we are now at 12 to 18 months out from the experience, or even less, if your experience is happening within the next year. So these are some bullet points of things to be mindful of. We don't police them. Like the next one, regularly attend at least one Friday night and one Saturday Shabbat service per month. It is very important. It's something in previous years I haven't seen. I'd like to see more of. We all signed a contract, and when your children or when you are becoming bar mitzvah say, but I don't know Kabbalah so well, or I can't remember the word so well to the Aleinu. Well, are you coming once a month? Are you coming on Friday night? Are you coming on Saturday morning? So that's really important. That's the expectation. And I love when you are here. We want you to be here. We want you to sing with us. We want you to feel confident. And one of the ways that you become confident in your skill set is by coming regularly. I know that Judaism today is an extracurricular activity. There I said it. Okay? I know it's a very bold statement to say as a rabbi, but it's true. I know that we are competing with lots of other activities that our kids do. But I want this, at least for the next year and a half to 2 years and beyond, to be a priority. Right? And so to find the time where you can come as a family on a Friday night or Saturday morning, at least once a month, that year leading up to the bar mitzvah, in order for your kids and you to feel comfortable. And also to meet, there's some cool people who come every week. Come meet them. They're really cool people. Some of you in this room come regularly to services. Let's try to fill the room even more. Create more problems, so we have to move even quicker. Okay, which we're working on. All right. So speaking of moving, this is really important. Selecting the venue for Shabbat. We always have the first right of refusal at the Jewish Community Center. That is where we have overflow services and where we move if necessary, based on the number of congregants and bodies that are in this room. So what I'd like to say, and Linda, if you want to add anything, feel free, but we have on the average 100 to 120 congregants from like October to like May. During the summer, it's quiet. But I would say thereabouts during that time of year. This space can feel comfortably with seating at around 220 people. 210 to 220. So as you're thinking with your bar mitzvah, that if your number is going to exceed that 120 plus your guests, you're already getting into the 225, 230, 235, we cannot accommodate you here. And you will have to go to the Jewish Community Center and speak with a woman by the name of Sandy Fox. Very important name. We have a special deal that we make with the JCC in Tzion, and you would make the arrangement there. Okay, that is our preference, that we do it at the JCC. In the past, we have had from time to time to do the service at Parday's Community Day School. Right, so if the JCC is already booked during your weekend, that is an alternative. But I will tell you that there is a little bit of a price differentiation just because they don't have the staff and the manpower to do what the J is able to do for us. So keep that in mind. And please, if you're thinking about using a different venue, please let us know. Okay, we need to know that information. Because there are certain things on our back end that we have to do in terms of making sure that we have the proper. It takes a lot on our end to get those services put together over there. We have to move 700 books. We have to have sound systems hooked up. We have to move our ark over there, our Torah reading table, taking the Torahs over there. There's a lot of details. Our programs over there, all the logistical pieces have to be handled. We just need to know. So think about it. And if you can get back to us sooner rather than later, but really keep in mind, we would prefer to be here. But if we have to move, we'll make that accommodation. We will take care of that. So that's something that I wanted to talk about. At this point in time, if you're 12 to 18 months out, you should be thinking about your vendors. where you're doing your location, and also other people. I just want to introduce a couple of people. Peter Cohen, who's in the back from Life Moments Photography, is here. He's more than willing to spend some time with you talking about, after the formal part of this evening, anything from pictures to those kinds of things. We work with Peter and Alyssa. They give a generous contribution to our synagogue in honor of the family. That's really appreciated by us. So thank you to you, Peter and Alyssa. The same goes true for Sean Wallace from Bensmore Productions. Sean also has a relationship with our congregation. I'll be honest, they are the two vendors that do that with us. And for that, we're grateful. So to both of you, I know that they'll stay a little bit afterwards and show. And I will be personally biased. I did use both of them for our Mitzvah this past December. So yes, that's Mike and the parents saying thank you to both of you as well. But there are other choices out there. We work with a lot of different vendors and people such as photos and caterers. Linda's going to get to in a few moments. Why don't we talk about catering right now, Linda? I think this is a good stopping point for me. You'll notice that it says there, and this isn't quite accurate, so I'm going to let Linda talk about it. It says that that third piece there, please note that the family must host the Shabbat morning Kiddush. That's part of the contract that was signed. And we'll talk about the Friday night because I think the Friday night national we're kind of exploring and moving into a different direction. So Linda, if you could share with us, that would be great.
So this is kind of at a high level. Past 6 months, the board of directors has been revisiting our overall catering policy. And for those of you who were at the annual meeting on Sunday, I shared with the congregation that effective July 1st, we are out of the catering business. What does that mean? That means Stefan, who has been our in-house caterer, has moved on. He's a chef at a hospital, and they're the lucky people that have his wonderful catering. But we are not a catering kitchen. We don't meet board and health codes and anything like that. And Denny and everyone else was spending far, far too much time dealing with individual catering issues. So we too, just like we talked about our photographer and our DJ, have arranged for a contract with Chompies as our preferred caterer. They are the preferred caterer for Beth Israel and for Temple High. They do every single Shabbat their kiddushes. They have that relationship. We do not have to use them, even though we'll have that relationship, but we will also receive a gift from each contract. The rabbi has a list, and it includes most of the caterers, the Miracle Miles, the Simply Scrumptious, several others that I just don't have off the top of my head. But as long as the rabbi approves them, then we are good with them, and they have a facility. So that will be upon you to do that. We just have to have the numbers. And I would go with 80 to 100 most Saturdays, not necessarily 100 to 120, but 100 is a good number to work with congregants during the year. So in terms of that, we've also decided to look at our Friday night noshins. Up until July 1st this year, has been required. We are no longer going to require that of our families. That's really going to be a choice for you. And Kim's going to be real happy to hear about this because we're also going to be looking at Friday night options, be it a late service or a young family Shabbat service. And you can have a nosh, you cannot have a nosh, it's totally your choice. So we're very excited to open the door on this. We're still tweaking some of the pieces on that, but wanted to give you a heads up on that. We can answer questions as we go on.
So, and if we can help, we have other people that work with vendors. We work with invitation people. We have connections with, so we'll get to that on the list, but hotel people, there's a lot of different people in the congregation that have those skill sets. So if you need help with certain things, I know some of you are closer to the end, some of you are very far away. This is just how it works. So find your middle ground and utilize your synagogue. Give me a call, ask for opinions. I've seen it all. I'd be happy to share with you what we've seen and what we do. Tutoring. So this has been kind of a transition year. When Cantor Berman moved, Michelle Mandel assumed the responsibilities as our lead B'nai Mitzvah coordinator and tutor. and has done a remarkable job with all of our young adults. And I just want to thank Michelle for always going above and beyond. So she's terrific. I do not know what I would do without her, and I'm very grateful and blessed, especially because she's staying and doing so many other things here at the synagogue once Cantor Rubinstein arrives at the end of July. So tutoring, Michelle does the bulk of the tutoring. I take on some of the students. We have other tutors that take on. Most of the students will be learning with Cantor Rubinstein upon her arrival, but we will have some students that will be working with our tutors. We have some high school tutors. We have adult tutors. Michelle is still around, although her and I will try to that will be lessened from us. I meet with all students, but that gets closer when we get very close to the bar of Mitzvah. We'll talk about that later. But tutoring typically starts 8 months out, because we have to pay our tutors, we have to pay salaries of professionals, and so if you are desiring something that's longer than 8 months, like your kids want to start 9, 10, 11, 12 months, we can't afford that, but we can provide tutors that can help you with that, but that would have to be at your expense. So if that's something that you would like to take advantage of, we are more than willing. We have had many families that have taken advantage of that, and we'll work it out with you, and you'll work it out with them and pay them separately, but if that's something that you feel more comfortable with, other than starting 8 months out, please let us know so we can put you in touch. Usually though, kids that have 8 months of training are very well prepared for their bar mitzvah. I have to say that I'm very pleased and very happy with our students and how they are able to shine and have confidence. And they all make it there. And they all succeed, and nobody fails. Okay, I want to make that very clear. Okay, once sessions begin, by the way, the balance of the tutoring fee is due. So it's an $850 fee. I'm not going to get into too much of the financial discussion tonight, but you get an email. Oh yes, we have a new bookkeeper that just started today. Her name is Kim. So Nancy moved on to, Linda explained that at the annual meeting. And so you'll get to know Kim, and so she just started today, and so if you need to get a hold of her and make a payment, we send an email usually out, hey, tutoring is started, please pay the remaining balance of the $850. Mitzvah projects. So you should have received a sheet. I want to thank Sharon Landay. Where's Sharon? Where? There's Sharon. I want to thank Sharon for putting this together for our 6th grade religious school class this year. It is incumbent upon each of our students to spend between 10 to 15 hours of working with an organization to help make the world a better one, Tikkun Olam. This is not just collecting money and sending a check somewhere. We really want our students, our B'nai Mitzvah students, to work with an organization. I work with our students on what they're passionate about, what they're interested in. Part of the 6th grade curriculum this year was exploring different avenues and organizations of what you as students would like to do and work with. So for our day school students who are here, we also have the expectation that you also pick an organization to work with, right? Some kids are more comfortable working with animals. Some kids are more comfortable working with human beings, but it has to be something that we really want your family and your kid to really spend some time working with, and not just, collecting money. That's important. Tzedakah is important, but we really want them to work with the organization. We have a ton of organizations that we can share with you, give you ideas. And so, ideally, at the end of 6th grade, which is coming, each of our 6th graders should submit to me your mitzvah project proposal. This was something that was presented in our religious school, but for our day school and religious school students, before you start 7th grade, I would love to receive from you over the summer what your expectation is of your mitzvah project. You have all the questions there. If you need help filling it out, we'd be happy. Michelle can meet with you. I can meet with you. But please take some time. The mitzvah project does not have to be done and finished when the young adult reads from the Torah. Okay? It has to be in process. So we understand that there are deadlines. We understand that people are very busy, but we just want our kids to take some time to go and see what's out there in the world, making it a better place. Okay? There's the Crisis Nursery Center, there's UMOM, there's Power Pause. We can go on and on and on, naming lots of different organizations. There are some organizations that don't allow kids under the age of 16 to work there, but we have many, many places that you can work with. Okay? Excellent. So, if you have family that is interested in participating in the service, other than the honors, reading from the Torah, we ask that you think about that, give us some notice. We're happy to work with your families, make the recordings, but we don't want to intimidate anybody, but we encourage. Like this coming weekend, for Elon Weiser, who's becoming bar mitzvah, his whole family is reading from the Torah, 8 different people. And that's really a nice thing when family shares in that experience, has the skill set. Not all families do. I'll be honest, I would say maybe 90% of the time that does not happen. But many times we do have families. So please, we ask you to contact the cantor when she begins. Until then, if you want something, let Michelle or myself know. We make recordings all the time. We send the sound files, we make copies, or we email them, we scan them, and you'll have those abilities to read from the Torah. Talit and Tefillin. All guys and girls here who become bar mitzvah, the expectation is that they all wear talit when they become a bar mitzvah. Okay? So, whether it's a talit that you make, whether it's a talit that you purchase, we have a store in Los Angeles that gives us a nice discount. We don't personally sell talit on campus. So, if you'd like to go shopping and you'd like some nice recommendations, let me know. To fill it, guys, my expectation is that you have them. Women are strongly encouraged. The leather straps that we teach her to put on with lessons with me, and we can get those at a reasonable fee also from Los Angeles. A nice bar mitzvah set is $182. You make the check payable to the discretionary fund. I write the check to the Shalom House. Comes in a very nice bag. It's beautiful, and it's a nice thing to do to learn how to put on the tefillin, the leather straps to have the Shema inside that we wear during the week at the Thursday minyan. Kippot, where's Michelle Gorin? Michelle Gorin so beautifully helps us with our gift shop here and helps not only save you all cost if you choose to do Kippot for your family celebration, but also there is a donation that comes back to the synagogue by going through Michelle on behalf of Tzion. So we have a small flyer to take home that if you're interested in ordering the Kippot, Michelle, how much time in advance do you need to order that for them to arrive on time for the celebration? 4 to 6 weeks. So for those of you that have the mitzvah coming up in August, it's not too late. You can order them through Michelle, but I would get on that pronto, and the ones that are coming subsequently in the months to follow. But please be in touch with Michelle. We have her email address there. We have contacting her there. And anything that you could do to support the community and the congregation, we greatly appreciate it. Okay, so we have those flyers going around. We just asked 4 months out that you be in touch with our office about the catering. Like Linda said, there's a list of approved caterers that I've approved that can come into our building or that we could use outside of the JCC. So please talk to Denny in the office so she can get you an idea. And the one thing that we ask is that around that time, you solidify your final menu and contract and you send that back, because I just have to take a look at the menu and make sure it's comfortable for everybody, in the congregation. Just have to look over what's coming in. Remember that when we have lunches on Shabbat, we don't like fire, so we don't have sterno flames or anything like that. So if you want hot food like blitzes, macaroni and cheese, those kinds of things, they can only be warm to 180 degrees, so they're not going to be served hot like you go in a restaurant. We just observe the Shabbat practice. But the place can still make it warm. They can use warmers and keep it at 180 degrees, but I have to again see. So by 4 months out, caterer should be solidified, taken care of. Please be in touch, let me know who you are using, so that way, and what the contract and menu look like, so I can approve that. Okay, 3 months out, that is the time when you let me know when your photo session is going to be at the synagogue. We do not have photography standstill with flash on Shabbat. We're currently looking at the possibility of streaming our services getting the right equipment, having it recorded on a secure website, and possibly giving that to families at a small reduced cost. We're not there yet. We're still working on it. And plus, going back and forth, it's very difficult to say to some families, well, we can do it for you here, but we can't do it in another place. So we're trying to come up with, the ritual committee is working on it to try to come up with a solution. But in the meantime, you need to call us, so we have to reserve a time at the sanctuary for when your photography session can take place. It's time when you invite Thursday or Friday, your family, nicely dressed up, Bubby and Zadie, grandma, grandpa, uncles, aunts, cousins, whomever, that you want standstills in front of the sanctuary, Bima with the Torah and the pictures of the suits, and the picture with the rabbi, and the sunglasses and all that. We'll talk about that at a different time. That's fun pictures. Okay, so please. And Peter and other photographers, we work with them. We make sure that the building is nice and clean and open, and that those photos are taken care of. That is also the time where you and I, as parents, need to reach out to one another. When I will start working with your kids on their Dvar Torah, on their speech, I've worked with students in the past longer, like 4, 5, even 6 months out. But because of the volume of the students that we now have, and there are only a certain amount of hours in a day that I have, we're going to still have the same awesome experience, but it's going to be 3 months out. So make sure that you call me 3 months out to start setting the appointment time with your kids. Each of them has a half an hour with me. We try to kosher piggyback on each other with me and the other tutor, so they don't have to come into the same building 2 different days. But that sometimes can't happen just because we need the time, and I'm only one person, and we'll go with that. So please just make sure we try to be as flexible as possible. Also, 3 months out, it's important for you to set up a family meeting with me, a parent-only meeting, where we will go through the protocol of the Bar Mitzvah. We talk about honors, we talk about the weekend, we talk about lots of details that we don't spend time talking a year or 2 years out, and every family dynamic is different. A certain uncle has to have the Torah Aliyah 3 because he's had that for 9 bar mitzvahs in the family, and we make sure that we try to accommodate those requests as best as possible. So please call me 3 months at a time. We go through a whole long list of things to make sure we're on the same page. We talk about a program for if you choose to do that. We talk about honors. We talk about lunch. I take our kids out on Friday lunch for the weekend of the Bar Mitzvah, and that's always fun too. This is just a helpful reminder for the green arrow and the countdown. This is really well done. I love this. Mail invitations, just a reminder that that's when you should start mailing them out. If you want to mail them out a little later, that's fine. We find that that's important. Please be sure to invite. This is very important. Okay? Everyone in the class, I know this is a little bit different for our day school students, because they're not in religious school often with us, although they're encouraged to join us. But everyone, at least in our Rosville religious school B'nai Mitzvah class, the expectation is that you invite all of your classmates to the service in the Kiddush. Okay? We are not in the position to financially, as a synagogue, dictate about small dinners or parties or things like that afterwards. So I would hope that the service is the most important, and people aren't planning, Titanic bar mitzvahs like you saw there. And you have to see the type of bar mitzvah that the second cadets. There's important time for celebration. And I'm not saying that there isn't, but there are some families that have a certain economic budget, right? And they're just having dinner at a restaurant on Saturday night, which I've been to. I try to stop by the receptions as much as I can. And then there's some families who can afford a little bit more. We're not going to be here to police, but I don't want to see is at 7th grade religious school on Wednesday, oh, how cool was that party? And 8 kids say, oh, yeah, it was awesome. And 7 kids say, well, gee, we weren't there. And I don't like when those conversations come up as it creates tension. But the expectation is everyone comes to the service. You can send it as an invite. You can send it as an invitation. You can send it however you do. If you want a list, come the beginning of religious school in August. The class is building. You can get a roster from Stephanie or Rabbi Crane. Those who don't know, Rabbi Crane starts in June. Okay, he's going to be our assistant rabbi education director. They will get you a list of the 7th grade class, 6th grade class, etc. So you have everyone's contact information. But that's at least our expectation from a synagogue perspective. Okay, 1 month out. When I meet with you 3 months out, we'll kind of go through the honors of the bar mitzvah. We will sit down as a family, and we will go through what those honors look like, who's doing what part of the service, English names, Hebrew names for the aliyot. Those are always interesting conversations. Families sometimes learn about Hebrew names that never existed up until, well, they did exist, they just weren't spoken of or heard of for decades until life cycle events happened. So that's always a fun conversation to have. And you don't have to be able to write them in Hebrew, but I keep a template for the service that morning where our service coordinator, the Gabaim, the people that call people up, have to be comfortable with the transliteration of Hebrew names. So I see hieroglyphics sometimes from families. I'm able to kind of decipher what the words are, and then I turn it into a language that everybody understands. That was a joke. Okay. All right. Now, if you're doing a program, I need to see it before it goes to print, because the synagogue's name should be spelled right. The clergy name should be spelled right. And so here's what I'm going to say about bar mitzvah programs. I think they're very nice. I think that they're nice in terms of a keepsake during the service. But I think that ecologically, they're not great. And the reason I say that is because usually at the end of every service, I see 200 pieces of paper lying on the floor, and they just go into the garbage can, not the recycling bin. And so I think that we do a pretty good job of explaining what happens in the service. We honor people's names publicly. I would caution you that if you're doing a program, try to limit it in terms of a front-back thing. If you really need to have the keepsake, the kippah is a nice keepsake, or the pictures that you're going to take before the Shabbat. If you really want to have a program, try to limit the amount of paper they're using, and the synagogue doesn't pay for that. We have a program that we put your names in, that you're sponsoring the Kiddush, synagogue announcements, things like that. So we allow you to do that, but this is me, just as a person speaking ecologically, just think twice about it, if it's a worthwhile investment to do. But if you do decide to do it, we welcome that. We just ask that we see it before it goes to print, and that you take care of the cost on that. But you can bring it here that week before. We will make sure it gets to where it needs to be for the service. Personal parent prayers. I'm a huge advocate for this. I want parents to be able to speak at bar mitzvah, but we want to be sensitive to the community. I'll give you an example that happened not in this synagogue, but I was in Miami, Florida, and I met with a family, and it was a beautiful prayer that the father had wrote, blessing his daughter at her bar mitzvah. It was 3 or 4 succinct paragraphs. It was beautiful, it made sense. So I had the copy ready for him, and this is my first Shabbat, by the way, in that synagogue of a bar mitzvah. And the father took out a manila folder, and there were 8 pages. And he spoke for 45 minutes. And it was an important, valuable lesson, because I was almost crucified at the ritual committee meeting. I'm just kidding. But I was really, it really was not the time or place for that. So what we do suggest is that you as a family, whether it's mom and dad, or separately or together, to have a 4-paragraph, 5-paragraph statement, personal prayer of your vision, of your child, of your hopes, your dreams for your kid. We think that that's valuable and important. But we try to limit it to that. Let's not talk about diapers. Let's not talk about when you were 3, you built the KB toy store, this Tinker toy thing that took us 45 minutes and you were such a genius. And that's wonderful. Save that for Sean when he does the party with you. Save that for a different time, because that's important and it shouldn't be missed. But the synagogue, people come, they want to hear you. They want to hear your child. They want to be part of the experience, but within limits, within a nice limitation. And there are some families who choose not to speak at all. Okay, so we'll leave that to your discretion. I'd like you to say something. So when we meet a month before, you'll have the talk. I'm usually very okay with it. Or sometimes I'll say it's too long. We have to try to cut a few things out. Okay? So that's a little parent prayer. We'll go into that in the individual meetings again 3 months out. If you have special decor, flowers, candy, kippot, candy we adorn our children with, if you would like, we ask that anything that happens here is delivered here before Friday. If the stuff is at the JCC, we ask that you work with Sandy Fox in making sure that the stuff gets over there just to reduce the stress that's put on our staffing, because we have to worry about a lot of other things that have to get over to the JCC. So those kind of extra special flowers and settings, place settings, and table settings for the lunch afterwards. If it's here, please bring it before Shabbat on Friday. If it's at the JCC, please work it out with Sandy Fox to make sure it gets over there in a timely manner. Just two other things. A Thursday before, this is a tradition I started when I came to the synagogue 6 years ago. We have a 6 years ago. Wow, that's crazy. Starting year number 7. Oh my gosh, July. So 6 years ago when I came, there was no weekly service here. There was actually only Shabbat services every other week. They used to have Shabbat at home. Remember that, Eddie? And I said, what's Shabbat at home? And my first Shabbat, I said, well, I'm going to be here next week. And so from then on, we started meeting every Shabbat. But we instituted a Thursday morning service around 35 to 40 minutes called a minyan. People come regularly to that service, say Kaddish for a loved one, and also a bar bar mitzvah of the week. I created a custom and an expectation that the bar bar mitzvah comes to the synagogue that Thursday morning. With the talit, with the tefillin, they lead 7 or 8 of the prayers. They have an aliyah to the Torah. They don't necessarily read from the Torah, but they come here Thursday morning. And we invite your family. You can take some pictures. It's a nice thing to do. And we expect that. So please make sure that you always have on your calendar that the Thursday before, you are a key. 7:30 here in the morning before the weekend begins, and you can invite anyone that you would like. No other expectations other than just to be here until around 8:15. Friday before, and I really try to make this happen, I'd like to take all of our bar bat mitzvah young adults out to lunch at the restaurant of their choice. We have to keep kosher though, so we don't go to Fogo de Chao. That's not really a choice. That's not really a lot for us to eat together. But I'm going with Elon Weiser for Sushi Brokers on Friday. So I have eaten my way through Scottsdale over the last 6 years. And so Fridays are really special because, and I also recommend that your kid takes off school that day to really kind of get ready and celebrate and enjoy. It's important to just take the day to spend with family and friends. And so that 1 hour of that time, usually we meet somewhere 11:45, 12 o'clock to 1 o'clock for lunch. And it's really a chance for us to check in, to see how they're doing, to have them relax, to make sure everything's going to be okay, to remind them what they need to bring over the weekend, and to really just celebrate. And make l'chaim over Coke and water and iced tea. So that's really all of the details. I know we've gone through a lot this evening. On the back, just a reminder, we have our contact information. That contact information will be changing, but this is who is here right now. Okay? So if you need to get a hold of one of us, and you have some independent questions, whether it's about tutoring, whether it's about venue, whether it's about catering, if you want to call me and ask, is this caterer to your standards? We have a list of 7 or 8 of them. And so we ask you, call Denny. She's in the office. Her phone number is here. Denny works Monday through Thursday. She's not here on Fridays. So if you want to reach her in particular, but Michelle and I are here usually a lot. We ask that you try to use our extensions. I know though that we've probably given our cell phones out to all of you, but if you do need to get a hold of me, I would be happy to give you my cell phone. I text. I'm off on Mondays. So please try to be mindful of that. Yes, so if you text me, you say, I know you're off, but I have a question, just please be patient with me until the following day. There was one other thing that I was going to say. So Cantor Rubinstein again starts towards the middle of July. And so, you don't know that? There was an announcement made at the annual meeting. It's going in the e-bulletin tomorrow, but Linda announced on Sunday that Cantor Dana Rubinstein, who interviewed here for the position of Cantor and Mitzvah director and tutor, has formally signed her contract with the congregation. So I'm so happy. And so we want to thank the board and the congregation. She received tremendous feedback when she was here. So she's starting in the middle of July 18th, right, Linda? And so she will start to have kind of turnover from Michelle with all of our current students who are learning, and all of our students who are going to be learning. I just want to say one other thing, and then if you want to have questions, you can come up to us individually, because I don't want to be here all night for people that might need to be elsewhere. I want to have individual time for you to meet with Peter or with Sean in the back to get a feel of different pieces, and those two sell pretty quickly. So please be in touch with them. But I just